Oh, I am Anawiltus, and today I'm a bit sick, but we will be using observer mode to take a look at this match between the esteemed U-Boss and the venerable Borg, playing as Persians and the Greeks. Let me just make sure which Greeks. Okay, Spartans. Okay. So it seems that our first build, we have farmsteads for both sides, followed by a storehouse on one side, and going for cavalry stable for the Persians. Definitely a different type of build, but a storehouse is being built nevertheless. Meanwhile, over here we are saving up a little bit on resources, possibly. Looks like we're training a number of troops. While for Borg over here, some troops are being trained, but we have really gone all in on the resources. Or he or she, depending on the gender. I don't actually know. So I'd say this is relatively interesting. Now U-Boss is building a house, and Borg is still in progress on the cavalry stables, hunting a walrus. Wow, I didn't know those were in the game. I didn't actually know that, but good to know that they are there. But let's actually think about this. Walrus? Does not look like an appropriate place for a walrus. I think it's way too far away from the water. And do walruses live in any of the cultures featured in the game's regions? I don't actually think. Well, that was actually a problem that the way I spoke. It should have been a singular because I said any, and any implies singular, I believe, unless I'm incorrect. Anyway, I like walruses, but it just seems a bit out of place. Just a bit out of place. Let's take a look at the resources. U-Boss with some food going on there. 429 food. Okay, really saving up on the food. And Borg is similar in resources, actually. So they're both being similarly efficient. However, there is a difference in the sense that some houses have been built and the cavalry stable is almost complete. And that's certainly what I would say is the difference. That I think U-Boss might be slightly behind, because if they had the same resources but Persia or Borg managed to build cavalry stables, then it might mean that Borg might have a slight advantage here. However, U-Boss is now building fields, trying to get that permanent food source up, so that once the local food sources run out, it will be very useful. Borg, on the other hand, is still building Mesopotamian women, but U-Boss is doing the same. However, Borg has not decided to move on to farms quite yet, and seems to actually be focusing on hunting using cavalry troops, supported by a handful of women gathering from bushes. Meanwhile, U-Boss is heavily going after the farms. This might help out in the long run, depending on how Borg decides to make the transition to a long-term food source. And it looks like Borg is already in the process of transitioning, so that will be great, I suppose. Neither of them seem to have wandered too far from their original location. Neither? Is that also singular? I'm getting really confused about my pronouns. About the singular and plural of the pronouns. Maybe I should take a bit of a study on that just to be sure. But
Yes.
the supply chain for hunting has become increasingly long, which will mean that it will slowly decrease in efficiency. Meanwhile, U-Boss has expanded using a barracks and has built a storehouse next to a whole new bunch of trees. However, that is no big issue since Borg is not yet running out of this patch of trees and has now begun to build a sentry tower. In fact, 3 sentry towers, really going in for the defensive abilities. Let me just check. Sentry towers doing pretty good. And if I go to Borg's viewpoint, Borg has gathered large amounts of, well, no, never mind. Not very large amounts of food, but has gathered some reasonable amounts of wood. U-Boss, on the other hand, has large amounts of food. Okay. This may be an advantage or a disadvantage depending on whether or not U-Boss is using that food consistently and really using it in an efficient and speedy manner. Because while having food is a good way to shore up for the long haul, it can also be an indication that you might not be developing fast enough. That is what X-Source, just any type of excess resource, can indicate, but does not necessarily indicate. Okay, it looks like Borg over here has expanded to a new phase. Meanwhile, U-Boss, maybe he's expanded as well. Yeah, looks like it. So they both seem to be neck and neck, although U-Boss does seem to have an advantage in wood for now. However, we don't know how long that will last with Borg's new built farms. Although, looking at them, they are not currently being cultivated, which means Borg must not be too concerned about food at the time. And Borg is still on the hunt, which I guess is a way to scout, however not the most efficient way to scout. There are some metal rocks that are already being mined by U-Boss. Let's see. Yes, Borg has mined them to a greater extent. This may give an advantage to Borg if Borg decides to go for more expensive units, which Borg certainly, well, these don't actually require that much metal. However, the Hyrcanian cavalry do. Borg is bartering, and it looks like Borg is certainly, let's actually take a closer look at Borg's economy. Despite the fact that Borg is gathering metal and rock relatively quickly, Borg has neither of these in abundance, but now Borg does have large amounts of food, and this could give Borg an advantage. Well, we don't know exactly. Borg seems to have already used the food to produce new things and is advancing to the city phase. That is actually why Borg did not have an abundance, because Borg had saved up and is advancing to the city phase right as we speak. Let's take a look at U-Boss. Alright, U-Boss. U-Boss has produced some troops, perhaps?
Yes,
Yes, a few troops, and is not yet in the city phase, nor does U-Boss have the resources required to get there. However, it looks like U-Boss is putting an increasing amount of focus into accomplishing these tasks. And seems to be having a few problems with some walrus. But now it's dead, so no problem there. Now let's take a look at Borg. Borg is expanding at a steady rate. However, Borg has not Borg is now building a palace. How wonderful. Would you live in a palace? Write in the comments below. Sounds expensive, to be honest. Even if you have a lot of money, it means it's just extra money that you have to pay to pay servants to do the upkeep. Because if you do it yourself, holy cannoli, that can only be just a pain, doing all the upkeep on a palace. Just imagine that. You live in a palace and you're doing all the upkeep yourself? No. That is not a way to live. Anyway, it looks like Borg is going for Cyrus the Great. Holy cannoli. Maybe I've said that phrase too much. And these houses have not been upgraded yet. But it looks like U-Boss has not really built that many defensive structures, which means that he may be subject to an early rush. However, it doesn't look like Borg is attempting to do an early rush. So, lucky you, U-Boss. Lucky you. U-Boss has not advanced to the city phase, and Borg has expanded to the north in order to secure a new place for gathering resources, including berries. So he has decided to expand the berry production in addition to constructing a couple more fields, it looks like. Meanwhile, U-Boss is steadily building more buildings. U-Boss now has 2 barracks. I repeat, 2 barracks, in case someone did not hear. Now, the real question is, why would someone not hear? But, perhaps I should not be the one answering that question. Oh, it looks like we are having our first skirmish in the middle. It looks like, judging by the fact that Cyrus himself has come out here, that Borg was doing some scouting, and now U-Boss may be going in for the attack. Yes, at first I thought those troops were drawn in, but because a whole bunch of them are following after, it looks like U-Boss has indeed gone in for the attack. Will this be the end of Borg? I highly doubt it. This attack is relatively large, but I do not believe that it is great enough to defeat U-Boss at the current time. However, it might still be. Just looking at the sheer numbers here, that is a problematic size of troops. However, Borg has brought out his own infantry to engage the enemy. However, this fortress, it doesn't look like it's going to get built. And indeed, it has been demolished. And now, a full-on battle has erupted near the ruins of that demolished, or semi-built, then demolished fortress. And it looks like U-Boss is indeed winning. However, Borg has brought some archers to provide some support, but it does not look as if they are being too effective against these highly skilled Skiritai commando units. But what is this? More troops have been brought out. Immortals. Immortals themselves have arrived on the battlefield. However, it looks like U-Boss has indeed arrived at the provincial governors. And will this be the end of Borg? Who knows? Well, we will in a short amount of time. But it seems like a new provincial governor has been installed. Too close for comfort, perhaps, to our nice U-Boss over here. How is the fight going? Fight is moving on heavy-handedly, or light-handedly. The troops are being slowly depleted. Will Borg recover from this massive loss of units, or will he be downtrodden? Okay, 1,600 food. Wait, no, that's U-Boss. Ah, maybe I've been reading the wrong number. Okay. So it does look like U-Boss has significantly more resources than Borg. This will not go down, and I apologize for reading the wrong number, because I was reading the number on the tooltip and not the number on the bar itself. And I also get slightly confused because I've got my frames per second marker right over the food number, which I probably should have moved to one of the other corners. But you can't see that because I specifically set everything up so that it won't show up. Look at that insult. U-Boss is gathering resources in Borg's territory. There is no greater insult than to take somebody else's stuff without asking. What a jerk. Please do apologize after the game. Good game. Well done. Hopefully Borg can recover to show a strong fight against U-Boss. But will it happen? That is a question that I am now pondering. Will it happen? I am so excited. Borg has expanded more than U-Boss. However, Borg also has come to a disadvantage due to that sudden attack. And U-Boss does seem to have fortified a bit with these defense towers that he has built in strategic positions so that they guard against possible attacks. And he has also expanded his territory to cover a greater part of the map. However, regardless of that, he is still taking somebody else's resources. Will Borg take back his rightful resources? Uh-oh. He's gone in against the Skiritai Commando. That might not be a good idea. It looks like U-Boss is in for putting Borg down another peg to establish the pecking order in this game. But will it happen? That is a question we are all asking. Will it happen? It looks like it will not happen. U-Boss has decided to pull back, and Borg has come out of this raid with not many losses. Very few losses, but it does look like U-Boss is in for attacking a different target. Maybe he believes that this provincial governor is undefended, but lo and behold, it is not. There's a great fortress right by it. He's going in for the attack. Will he succeed? Who knows? Now let us take a look at the damage counter. Yes, they are taking some damage, but will they be able to succeed? That is the question. And it looks like U-Boss has prioritized getting rid of Cyrus the Great here. And he has completely surrounded him, trapping him in a mess of soldiers. But now his soldiers are being backstabbed by the Persian Immortals. Is this a trap? It very well may be, as it appears that U-Boss's soldiers are dropping relatively fast. Let us take a look at the Immortals. The Immortals have not taken as much damage, but Cyrus definitely is going to fall. So Cyrus has been sacrificed, but the cost of his sacrifice may not be nothing for the enemy. Because now Borg has indeed destroyed a significant portion of U-Boss's army. However, U-Boss is recovering. U-Boss has indeed provided a whole new generation of troops. However, very few of these seem to be of the high-quality Skirtai Commando, but more of the Helot Skirmishers. This may be the time for Borg to attack, and it looks like he may be forced into attacking as U-Boss has decided to entrench himself by building a fortress. The real question is, will Borg find the courage within him to go after U-Boss, or will U-Boss be allowed to recover? And it looks like U-Boss is already recovering, now having 10 of his so famously spammed units, the Skirtai Commando, up and at the ready. Now let's take a look at Borg's army. Plenty of shield bearers going out. Not the most powerfully offensive unit, however, there are also a number of Immortals as well. There is a number of Immortals, sorry. Getting my plural and singular mixed up again. Uh-oh. It looks like Borg has indeed decided to take the rest of the map. Will U-Boss stand up to this? Will U-Boss take this sitting? Who knows? Well, it looks like U-Boss is going in for a bit of his own expansion. Uh-oh. Borg has decided to bring in the battering rams. This might not end well for this fortress. The fortress has been abandoned as a project for the moment, which means that attacking it may not be the best idea for Borg, because since it currently is not built, it may be a poor choice of an attack. However, it looks like Borg is not attacking it and making the wise choice of instead taking down his opponent's troops, who are actually falling relatively quickly. And is using his battering rams to take care of this half-built fortress, which is now in ruins. And now Borg is pushing forward once again. It looks like U-Boss has decided to go in for the counterattack. He's only got 10 Skirtai Commando on the go, but is doubtlessly building more, as I expected. But this fortress may soon be destroyed. The fight has gone into Borg's territory, as Borg is building his own fortress to counter the fortresses and other defensive positions established by U-Boss. And judging by the colors on the ground, I would say that Borg is definitely winning the skirmish, but will he be able to hold up against the production power of U-Boss? Since U-Boss now has 10 freshly trained Skirtai Commando, and is raining down attacks from on high. Will Borg be able to sustain his attack? Who knows? It looks like this Assyrian siege ram may not survive too much longer. Well, it may if it is not attacked, but it looks like U-Boss did indeed catch on to its damaged state and decided to counter-attack. But now there is an opening in U-Boss's defenses. Meanwhile, what is Borg doing economically? He has expanded his infrastructure, built more things, and is currently building a Persian hall down south. But it does not look like he may be stacking up a new army at the moment. And it looks like his attacking forces have indeed been depleted to a number of 12, which means an attack of 10 Skirtite Commando might just be enough to take them down. However, Borg has decided to retreat for the moment and possibly regroup with new reinforcements to counter the Skirtite Commando as they come in. The Skirtite Commando are dropping, however, and Borg has sent in an undefended battering ram to attack this defense tower. He is slowly taking down U-Boss's defenses, building by building, tearing him down faster than he is building himself back up. Which means that now U-Boss has entered into an unsustainable mode, and as we can see, the opponent's attacks, Borg's attacks that is, may not be predicted too well due to the sight range. However, U-Boss does have large amounts of food and stone at the ready. Now let's take a look at Borg's resources. Borg has really spent his food and his wood, but also has plenty of stone, because Borg has been on a constant offensive run and is now perhaps going in for the kill. Yes, he has gone in for the kill, and it looks like U-Boss has indeed resigned. Let us take a look at the stats. Economically, Borg did win out over at the end, even though U-Boss did have an advantage at some point. Militarily, Borg won the lion's shares of victories towards the end of a game, even though U-Boss had weakened him towards the start. Buildings-wise, Borg really expanded more than U-Boss, and that may have allowed Borg to acquire access to more resources, even though I believe that U-Boss did not deplete all of his own resources. And it does look like it was very costly for U-Boss at the end, because U-Boss decided to go in waves instead of perhaps saving up for a larger army to defeat Borg's army. Infantry-wise, fair enough. Workers' cavalries, yes, Borg definitely had a few cavalry units, and even though they weren't very many, I do believe that they were very important in the fight itself. And also Borg's use of champions may have helped as well as his use of heroes, and certainly siege engines towards the part of the game when he started to attack. Resources, very interesting. Let's see, markets. Borg was using his market, U-Boss was not. Miscellaneous vegetarian ratio, U-Boss certainly was going full veg. Perhaps, well, not full veg, but really heavy into it. But Borg really produced a lot of women. which may have contributed to his economic advantage later in the game. And also the fact that Borg managed to, most of the time, enter into situations where he had the direct military advantage, allowed him to win victory after victory, allowing for a good KD ratio. Map exploration, of course, for Borg was significantly larger than it was for UBOS, because of his map control, as well as his hunting expeditions and construction projects. And I believe that will be all for today. Thank you for watching. If you have a specific replay that you would like me to commentate or comment, depending on your preference of words, then please do send it to me. Perhaps in the comments below, give me a link. If you have any suggestions for improvements that I could make, please do comment as well for that. And I thank you all for watching, and I will be seeing you all next time on a Wiltos over and out, and I hope you don't get sick as I have gotten sick. Adieu.